Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Gold, Cybersecurity Practice Director for Gotham Technology Group. Sorry, just getting my notes up so I can spell this correctly. I'm very excited about this new incident response offering from Arctic Wolf. As you may know, Gotham provides a security operations center or SOC as a service solution to its customers, blending the best of Arctic Wolf's managed detection and response with Gotham's cybersecurity expertise to assist with response, remediation, and recovery. As I like to say here at Gotham, we drink our own champagne and we leverage Arctic Wolf as our managed detection and response, as well as our managed risk. But without further ado, let me introduce Darrell White, Senior Sales Engineer for Arctic Wolf, to dive deeper and show the power of this solution and how you can remain protected 24 by 7 by 365. Over to you, Darrell.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. So, quick agenda for today. We'll talk about a couple things. First, I'm going to quickly touch on a few trends that we're seeing in the market. Um, Second, I'm going to show you what a typical incident response retainer looks like compared to Arctic Wolf's incident response Jumpstart retainer. Now, you might hear me use the term IRJS. Just so you know, if I do say IRJS, that is referring to the Arctic Wolf incident response jumpstart retainer. Kind of a mouthful, which is why you may hear me say IRJS. Now, we'll also talk about cyber insurance, some best practices that you should consider, and lastly, we'll leave some time for some closing comments and questions. So, if you're unfamiliar with Wolf, we're in a very unique position to be able to help organizations detect and respond to attacks around the world. We've got over 5,000 customers, 5 data centers globally with plans to open up a sixth, nearly 700 engineers in our security operations centers, and we process over 700 billion observations per day and growing. So to put that into perspective, right, that's nearly double the amount of emails being sent around the world in a single day. So that gives us a unique spot in the market to be able to help our customers. And all this is made possible by what we call our security operations cloud. Now, that allows us to see a lot of cyber risk in the market, but the problem is that cyber risk is actually accelerating at a higher rate than security investments. We know folks are trying to do the right thing. They're investing money, they're investing time and energy trying to protect themselves. There's over 3,000 plus security companies out there, which are mostly like, point products and tools to choose from. And with nearly $170 billion being spent at 11% year-over-year growth, the problem isn't really on the buyer's side, right? The buyers are actually trying to do what's right for them and their business. So it's clear that there is some effort to folks and organizations protecting themselves. However, the rapid increase of cybercrime, so you'll see the orange arrow kind of going up there, that's far outpacing the total security spend. And that gap is what we call the effectiveness gap. Right now, one of the vehicles that we could use to prevent such a significant loss is with a proper incident response plan, among many other things, right? But we'll focus on incident response for today. So to highlight a few trends, in September of last year, we actually saw a record month for ransomware attacks. Okay. There were 514 reported attacks that month, as opposed to the 459 that we saw in March of the same year. Now, Sophos actually reported the average ransom in 2023 was almost double what we saw in 2022, with over $1 million in losses compared to the 812,000 from the year before. That's a pretty significant rise. Now, there was another study that was done by the Hanover Insurance Group. So that study said that 60% of its respondents actually felt like they would become unprofitable after only 2 days of losing access to their data and systems. So that said, meanwhile, the average downtime in 2023 for an organization was actually, and I'll do a quick drum roll there, 16 days. So, it's a pretty wide gap. If the average downtime was 16 days, but folks felt unprofitable after only 2 days of losing access, I think that's a big problem. So what kind of incident response plan would it actually take to avoid being down for so long? Let's talk about it. Let's start with, the traditional incident response retainers. If we look at the traditional IR retainers, we believe that they're taking the wrong approach, right? And that's really for three core reasons. One, they're expensive. Most retainers on the market require some type of block of incident response hours to be purchased upfront. That usually costs like tens of thousands of dollars. Some even, go up to like the six-figure range. Two, they rush to actually burn their hours. So in addition to being expensive, the pre-purchase hours usually expire at the end of a contract. So you kind of get into this use it or lose it situation. And that might result in them rushing to allocate those hours to some, other services that they may offer. And then three, your traditional IR retainers typically don't involve any kind of proactive planning. So many of the retainers, without the proactive planning, they tend to kind of wait it out, see if, you maybe didn't experience a cyber attack, there wasn't a security incident, you still have those prepaid hours. Going back to the second point, you don't experience a cyber attack, then they're probably going to reallocate those hours into something like planning or some type of consulting service. So, let's kind of paint a picture here. We're going to use an incident response timeline. So, what would a typical response look like for an organization without a traditional IR retainer? Now, this is just any IR retainer. Organization has no IR plan whatsoever. Here's what it would look like. Unfortunately, the first thing is the company gets breached or there's some kind of cyber attack, right? Once you're breached, though, that's when the clock starts ticking. So having a plan is definitely essential, and we'll kind of touch on that in a future slide. But after that, you're going to have to find an incident response firm to help you, right? And part of that includes talking about rates and contracts, and you're pretty much establishing a plan on the fly. And that's, again, time consuming. Then, once everyone is done talking, business and contracts, that's when they'll start to deploy their security tools. They'll deploy some agents and things that'll help to collect some data about your environment. At this point, you have your incident response firm. They're beginning to do the forensic work, their investigation. They're going to determine the root point of compromise. They'll try to contain the threat and start to begin their remediation effort. That's kind of where their money is made there. Now, once the threat is removed, then they'll restore the data and help your business operations and resume your business operations. Finally, you're at a secured state. It's business as usual. We're back to normal. In my opinion, what does that get you? I would say a very slow clap from our good friend here, the most interesting man in the world, who, doesn't seem too impressed in that GIF there. So let's transition over to the Arctic Wolf Incident Response Jumpstart Retainer. Okay, again, IRJS. Some of the benefits of the Arctic Wolf IRJS, one includes actual IR planning, right? So that's going to include an online development of your incident response plan. So Arctic Wolf is going to help plan, review, store critical documents that you would need during an incident response or a cyber attack, right? Sometimes cyber attacks happen, documents are inaccessible, whatever relevant information you would need to be stored, Arctic Wolf is going to store it for you, and you would have access to that in the event of a cyber attack. Two, we have an industry-leading 1-hour SLA. Right now, that is usually only available from other vendors with maybe a pre-purchase of hours, and that's typically like their most expensive retainer option. Um, but with Wolf, that is our SLA. Three, an SOW is going to be created for our customers after a complimentary scoping call. Included with that is going to actually be the estimated cost of what it would take to resolve that incident. Four, you get a discounted rate of $295 per hour and other financial benefits. And we'll touch on the other benefits in a future slide. Five, Our incident response team is approved on nearly every major cyber insurance panel. So we work with a ton of different cyber insurance companies. So no issues there. So you heard me say the first benefit was incident response planning. Now everyone can say planning, 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 but you're probably thinking in your mind like what does that actually mean, right? What does planning mean? So let's take a deeper dive into that. As we saw from the timeline slide, if you don't have a good incident response plan, you're delaying your response and restoration to your business. So again, every minute counts when it comes to dealing with a cyber attack, breach, you name it. In the event of a security incident, though, you and the Arctic Wolf incident response team would have immediate access to information within our what we call IR Plan Builder. Now, the IR Plan Builder is an online planning application. It's going to contain all of your necessary information, so it's going to be safe during a cyber attack. You can think of it as like, TurboTax for incident response. It's really going to make your life easier. So some of the benefits of doing this planning would include things like you see on the screen, being able to identify your key contacts, having organized information about your data and network assets. You'll have a secure file storage for any necessary files you want to keep in one place. And you'll also have the benefit of working with Gotham. So they can include additional services that may complement your incident response program. Think tabletop exercises, pen tests, etc. Now, with the IR Plan Builder, we'll guide you through the planning process, help to organize the essential information you'll need during a crisis. And the information is going to include things like, well, who's your incident response team, right? Who are the internal team members that are needed for a response? Who are your external providers? So, who are the outside resources that you'll need for an effective response? What are your locations and networks? What are the critical servers and infrastructure that's going to be targeted first? Those are maybe things that you want to bring to the forefront. Uh, Incident escalation. So, what are your escalation procedures after it's covered? And then critical business functions. What does a blueprint look like to actually restore the business? You want to restore to a state. What is that state? Um, all of this is documented in an executable plan that's going to be reviewable, tunable, referenceable, and activatable. By the way, I call this my able slide since a lot of the words here end in able. That was totally intentional. Um, but we talked about the planning phase with the Arctic Wolf incident response team. But what does the response look like under the hood, right? What makes our response different? So we developed something called the Elastic Response Framework. This framework enables a rapid response to any cyber emergency at scale. So what we're doing here is we're executing three processes simultaneously while making sure we have the right amount of expertise throughout the response engagement. So the three processes that make up that framework are called secure, analyze, and then restore. Now, before we get into let's talk about the teams. Part of the incident response team is going to include an incident director. That incident director is going to orchestrate every response, and they're going to assign team members to a response based on the type of attack, the scope of the incident, and then the phase of the response. So those assigned team members are going to work in parallel, right? Again, going back to those three processes to make sure they're helping to minimize your downtime and costs. So let's break down what each of these phases mean. Starting with secure, of course, with every response plan, securing is probably the most important phase. So we're going to work to contain and neutralize the threat. We're going to monitor and look for things like reentry attempts. We're going to identify and remediate the root point of compromise, which, by the way, Arctic Wolf has a phenomenal rate in how much we've been able to identify the root point of compromise, such so that there's been colleagues of ours in the cyber insurance space that have acknowledged the amazing things that Arctic Wolf has been doing. Now, the second stage, analyze. Here we'll pretty much analyze the cause of the extent of the threat actors' actions, right? So what are they actually doing? This is where our team is going to come in. They're going to, conduct digital forensics investigations. They're going to look into things like what files were accessed, deleted, or stolen, leave you with a thorough explanation of what we found during our forensics investigations and our findings. And then the third one is going to be restore. So obviously restore the business to a pre-incident condition. Um, Here's where it will help to restore systems, applications, corrupted or deleted data. Uh, this part also includes things like threat actor communications if necessary. Now, we'll do everything that we can to avoid paying any type of ransom. However, if there's a need to directly converse with the threat actors, for example, like, threat actor negotiations, then our response team can actually do that on your behalf. So now that we've learned a little bit about the incident response Jumpstart retainer, let's kind of revisit that timeline and see what that looks like with an Arctic Wolf customer using the IRJS. First things first, upfront, you'll already have contracts done. You'll have the incident response plan built. You'll also be having ongoing conversations about resiliency capabilities, right? So these are conversations you're having even before an attack happens. Now, as an Arctic Wolf customer, we'll already have full visibility with our agents, our sensors, our cloud connectors, the various different integrations we have to monitor your environment. It is worth noting, if you are not an Arctic Wolf MDR customer, but you have a retainer with Arctic Wolf, right? You have the IRJS, then this agent and monitoring would happen after the incident. So I just want to make that kind of differentiation there. Arctic Wolf customers would already have their environments monitored, but if you just have the incident response Jumpstart retainer without like MDR or the other services, this deployment would happen after the incident. Okay, now, boom, you have a cyber attack. This is where the incident happens. The next thing that's going to happen is, remember that elastic response framework we talked about? That's where the Arctic Wolf response teams are going to swiftly come in, SWAT team, kick down doors, help to secure, analyze, and restore your business simultaneously. Okay. Now, throughout the response engagement, you'll be working with our teams to have strategic discussions. We're going to talk about things like how to strengthen your security posture, right? How to build resilience. Now, not only are you secured, but you've emerged much stronger than you did before the incident happened. So there's the difference between the Arc incident response retainer and then your typical IR retainer. So what does that get you? I call this the Rudy clap. I might be dating myself because I love this movie. One of my favorite, clapping moments out there. So I had to throw that in here. Now, we talked about, using incident response retainers, but there's more than one way to establish a path to an incident response vendor, right? You also have cyber insurance. Even with cyber insurance, though, I just want to put it out there. The right incident response retainer is going to be the primary way to help reduce the impact of an incident. But ultimately, we believe you need both, right? You need an IR retainer, you need cyber insurance. So let's talk about cyber insurance a little bit. As it relates to cyber insurance, these days underwriters are leveraging more like stringent controls when they're actually deciding to insure a company or not. You have things like managed vulnerabilities, protected networks, having a phishing aware workforce, incident response, and a ton of others. Arctic Wolf supports or solves for many of these cyber insurance security controls. Okay. Our goal here is to help our customers improve their security posture to meet each of these controls, right? Or support or strengthen these controls that you see listed here on the screen. And when you're actually able to meet those controls and those requirements, that could actually help you in a few ways, right? Maybe potentially prevent insurance carriers from reducing your coverage, or potentially preventing increasing your insurance premiums and insurance rates, right? These things we've seen this happen if you were to, again, meet these requirements and kind of prove that you have a solution implemented that can help you with a lot of these. Now, as a way to transfer risk away from our customers, Arctic Wolf offers a financial benefit to our customers invested in more than one of our solutions. So that is called our security operations warranty. What does that mean? This provides $1 million in, or up to $1 million of financial assistance should you experience a security event. So something like a ransomware or business email compromise, right? You would have financial backing from Arctic Wolf. Now, that's on the left side of the slide here. Pivoting to the right side, as an additional benefit here, because Arctic Wolf can help our customers with a lot of those cyber security controls we just talked about, that actually may help to unlock some premier insurance terms. So our customers have actually seen a significant benefit on cyber insurance policies when they invest in, again, one or more of our services. Um, some of the benefits that our customers have reported include, but are not limited to, things like an expedited application process, broader coverages, enhanced limits, lower deductibles, premium discounts, reimbursements. So I say all that to say, it's never a bad idea to kind of ask your broker what insurance carrier or insurance is right for you. Um, and this is the last thing I'm going to leave you with before I pass it back over to Steve. There's a few best practices when it comes to cyber insurance. Okay. Number one, you want to work with an experienced cyber insurance broker. Okay. They can help guide you through the cybersecurity controls, help find the best insurance terms for you and your business. Number two, demonstrate your superior security posture. So there's a ton of new safeguards. We have multi-factor authentication, endpoint detection and response, incident response, a ton of others that if you were to ask me 10, 20 years ago, these things weren't included, but they're consistently adding new things. If you're able to demonstrate your security posture, right, that's certainly going to help. And having the right like broker partner by your side can always help qualify for the best terms available. Uh, Three, prepare for an external vulnerability scanning. Now, unpatched vulnerabilities can lead to like disqualifying results even before you're applying for insurance. A lot of times what happens is the insurance carriers would look to maybe scan your environment to see if there's any, unpatched vulnerabilities or how at risk is your business before you decide to, apply for insurance. And if they find bad results, then it's usually, not a good result, right? Not a good look for your business. Makes it harder for you to actually gain insurance. Four, foster your security culture with employee awareness. Not only can you protect yourself from cyber attacks by just raising employee security awareness, but you can also leverage solutions like Arctic Wolf and insurance partners for better terms. And then last but not maintain a clean claims history. One of the best ways to maintain a good looking insurance claims history is to leverage a security operations center with 24/7 monitoring, such as the ones that you might find in like managed detection and response MDR services like Arctic Wolf. Awesome. So now I'll pass it back to Steve for some closing comments.
Wow, that was that was great, Terrell. Thanks. Not only does every company need an incident response plan, but also know who to call when things, become chaotic. Additionally, like you mentioned, having an IR plan not only can help an organization obtain cybersecurity insurance, but it could potentially help to lower your premiums by having this incident response plan. If you would like to learn more about this Jumpstart or any of the other solutions that are on the screen right now, by all means, please reach out to your Gotham account manager. Thank you again for taking the time this morning, and I hope that this was both educational and beneficial. I saw that we did get a question in the chat, Darrell. I don't know if you have an answer for it now, but we have a question around, you mentioned Arctic Wolf works with all of the main cyber insurance companies and you're on their approved list. Is there a list on the website or a list that we can share of those approved cyber insurance companies?
Yeah, I'll check with our incident response team to see if there is a list, but I can say that, we work with virtually any cyber insurance company out there. So I don't know if Brendan we'd be able to capture the I guess Gene's email or anything, and we can respond at a future time. But I can see if we can have an actual list. But again, I don't think there's a cyber insurance carrier or company we don't work with.
Okay, great. We can always follow up with Gene. All right. Well, Darrell, thanks again. And thanks again for everyone who joined us for this webinar.
Got it. Thanks, everyone.